we ask you to unmute and you're mute to speak to us. Do not repeat questions. If it's been asked before, you don't have to ask it again. I continue to reiterate this every week that we're giving you 30 seconds to 1 minute to speak when you're asking questions, but that I'm very flexible there. In other words, I don't want you to speak under pressure. The most important thing is to understand you clearly. And having said that, we need to go back. I need to talk a little bit about how we got here. Who is NINAS? NINAS is, like I said, is a Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. It is those Nigerians, those ethnic nationalities in Nigeria that are living under a constitution they did not make, that are living under an apartheid-like system without their approval. And they are saying, using legal means, using international laws, using civil laws to say, no, this is not how nations work. We want a better system for ourselves. And joining together to say no to that 1999 constitution that put us in that situation. If you are still wondering what self-determination is the right to determine political, economic, religious, and cultural direction. If you look at Nigeria, you know that many of us have no say in the political direction of our country. We have government functionaries, political representatives that are not representing us because we did not send them there. We have economic situations. The economic direction of our country, when you look at it, you know that this is not being piloted by the best and brightest economic hands that we have. You look at the religious, cultural direction. There are those of us who are living in territories that are Sharia, that are living under Sharia law, and they do not subscribe to Sharia law, but they still have to deal with it. So we have all kinds of things that are going on in Nigeria that make it imperative for people to stand up and say, this is wrong. This is an evil. This is not just an evil that you endure. If it was something that is just for us and our generation, it's very easy to just say, okay, let's just endure it. But we know that it doesn't stop with us. It continues to our children, our descendants, and generations unknown. If we don't do something about it. And what we're saying is, let's change the foundation upon which Nigeria sits. And for many of us who have been looking at the news and all the events that have been going on in Nigeria the past week, I want you to know that this is not the NINAS secretariat. When NINAS releases a statement, a position on these matters, then we can talk about it. So we don't want a distraction with regards to where we're going this week. So we want everyone to focus on what we have been doing, which is letting our people know what the issues are, why NINAS, and why we must proceed to take down the 1999 Constitution and create a different framework, a framework that works for every one of us, whether we're in the middle belt or in the southern part of Nigeria. That's what NINAS stands for. So many of us have, I'm sure when you go into the comment section, you see some of these comments, people asking us, where did NINAS come from? You guys just showed up. No, we didn't just show up. We've been around for a very long time. People that say, even those who know, who continue to look at you and go, but you've been doing this for 21 years. What have you accomplished? And we look at them and like, wow, is this not unbelievable? I want you to know that when you need to do things the right way, when you want to make sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted, that things are done the right way, it takes time to do it. It takes, number one, strategy. NINAS is the framework that came out of things from the work of very determined, very intelligent people, meticulous work that has been done for years, most of it done under the radar. In other words, people doing work that they did not need the world to start knowing about. I'll give you an example. When the people behind this effort that you see today as Ninas, when they saw the 1999 Constitution, they knew that Nigeria that we see today was going to be, that this was a recipe for disaster. That's where we were headed, because you had a constitution that was not made by the people of the territory, the ethnic nationalities. It was just one ethnic nationality getting together and putting a framework together and said, for the rest of you, this is the platform upon which this nation is going to sit. It favored them to the exclusion of others. It meant they could take over your space, they could take over your natural resources, and you could do nothing about it. The merit system was gone. Everything that a solid civilization could stand upon was compromised in that 1999 Constitution. So some of our brightest minds were shouting from the very beginning, this is wrong, this is going to lead to disaster. Now, there were people who were in there who could benefit from it individually for themselves. So they just kept it going because it benefited them, and the country kept rolling along. But the dangers of that constitution continued to manifest as time went on. It got to a point where one of the earliest things that they did was to sue the federal government of Nigeria over the 1999 Constitution. Number one, we did not make it. Number one, that was not the framework. What it actually presented to us was not what we agreed when we started the nation in 1960. This was a unitary constitution parading as a federal constitution, and there were all kinds of problems with it. So they sued the government because we did not make the constitution. There was no plebiscite, no referendum, nothing. You just imposed something on us and said, this is the constitution. That suit was, the lawyer was Tony Nadi, and had the other plaintiffs in that case were people like Wole Soyinka, Odumegwu Ojukwu, Sisi Ono, Fred Abayebe, just all these notable Nigerians coming behind. In fact, Asare Dokubo was in that case, or Wazirika was in that case also. All these people coming in, and the Nigerian Attorney General came to the court and said he had no response. Now, the people that filed the case did not know, I mean, it was not a surprise to them that Nigeria was not going to crumble under that case, because they knew the system they would still find a way to ignore it. So the Attorney General came to court and said, I have no answer, because he knew he was defeated right there and then. But Nigeria rolled on. They continued to Pronaco, they continued, there were all these things that were done where all the ethnic nationalities came together and said, this is how we are going to roll. We are going to change the structure of the nation, because everybody understood that there was a problem with the structure of the country. Pronaco yielded the results that could have kept Nigeria in a really good form. Regional system and all that, all the recommendations of Pronaco were not implemented. So we rolled on. So all these ethnic nationalities now went into the next stage, which was the people at, there's the lower Niger, which is the current southeast and south-south. There is the Yoruba, the Yoruba Odua block. There's the middle belt. If you know something about Nigeria, you know that the Odua block is a homogeneous group. In other words, everyone in that space is Yoruba. You go to the lower Niger, you're going to see Igbo, Efik, Anan, Urobo, everybody. You go to the middle belt, there's even more ethnic nationalities in those spaces. So this took time to put together, and I'll give you an example, and then I'll give you an example in a few moments. And one of the things that were done was that in 2015, the ethnic nationalities of the lower Niger got together and did a solemn assembly where they agreed to move together. This was the strategy was for everybody to come together and demand the dissolution of that constitution together, because history tells us that if you try to do it alone, Nigeria will find a way to destroy you. So they solemn assembly in Port Harcourt in 2015, followed by the one by the Yoruba in 2017, and then in 2018, the one, the Middle Belt. Everyone agreeing on this framework that says we need to end Nigeria under this 1999 constitution, go into referendum, and start and decide how we're going to live together. And then for those of you who well, at this time, I wanted to actually tell you a story on how much time and the effort that went into this. For those of you who keep questioning, where was Nina's there? Where did you start? Who are you? And all that. Let me just give you an example that in the lower Niger, where we come from, where I come from personally, that those engagements took about 6 years to get all the different groups together. It was on the ground, because you did not want to be criminalized. You did not want to be framed and criminalized. All the way to from the Oba of Benin, meeting with the Oba of Benin to, there were these meetings that were, when the group went to the Oba of Benin, the later Oba Akenzua, who was secretary in Nigeria, in Aburi on the Nigerian side, I went to him. And then he told them, let me talk to my intelligentsia and I will get back to you. It took about 6 months from there to the Olu of Wari, from there to the Amanyana boss, all the way to the Obong in Calabar. These meetings were taking place on the ground, building those alliances. When that was solidified and then crowned with that solemn assembly in Port Harcourt, the system there were engagements being made with the other sections of Nigeria, the Yoruba bloc, the Middle Belt, and these things were going on. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to engage all these people involved. And then when all this was done and everybody was together, everybody came together. If you look at those people that signed the force majeure, you know that they come from, these are eminent personalities from every section of this alliance bloc. Then let's reach out to the United States, engagements with the international, in fact, while all these things were going on, there were engagements that were taking place with international stakeholders. I remember the engagements in 2019 at the US government, and these things are all very verifiable. They were in the national news here in the United States because they were done in the open at June 5th at the House of Assembly, at House of Representatives, June 11th in the Senate of 2019, July 16th and State Department. All these things were very publicly done. These engagements, letting the world community know what is going on in our space and why it is necessary for us to go back to a structure that is sustainable, that is safe for everyone locally and internationally. And the engagement in the United States was followed by the United Nations sending Agnes Calamat, the special rapporteur, who came to Nigeria and looked at what has been told them on engagements with the UN and United States. And came back with a scathing report indicting the Nigerian 1999 Constitution as the pressure cooker for injustice. So all these things are actual work that has been done that brought us to where we are. At this time, what we are doing is taking down that constitution because it is the framework that has held our people hostage. That is the prison right there, that constitution. And we are going to proceed. That was an introduction I was to make regarding who Ninas is. I'm going to also introduce Donald Ebo, who is who will also be moderating. Thank you, Jean. So at this point, Donald, do you have anything to say? Donald Ebo?
No.
Okay, is Akuche around? Akucheze, I see you there, Akuche.
Yeah, I just wanted to make just a couple of quick points for people to understand. One is the fact that the US was engaged. We had survivors that actually were on Capitol Hill. And in 2019, they put Nigeria on the wait list. And then in 2020, right before the constitutional force majeure was proclaimed, they did put Nigeria on the blacklist. for egregious religious issues. And then the
Yes.
International Criminal Court came out with quite a damning report. And that is to say that the non-state and state actors both, they had reasonable basis to believe that they had committed acts against humanity that rose to the level of war crimes. And unfortunately, most recently, the United Nations has revised their estimate of the people that have been killed in the northeast of Nigeria by these Fulani herdsmen and other terrorists from over 100,000 to a whopping 350,000 people. Let me repeat that. 350,000 people killed in the Northeast. And that's
These
why
are human beings.
Yes.
These are human beings, people. Continue, Jen.
Yes. And their farms destroyed. There's almost 4 million in IDP camps, and these are squalid. And yet, bandits, kidnappers, media Allah are paid billions of naira. We're just giving you facts. This is about facts. You are all ambassadors here who must take these facts and let our people know so they understand what's going on. That's what this is about. Every single person that comes here becomes an ambassador of the truth, of the facts.
Exactly.
Hand it back over to you, Johnny.
Yes, it's very important for people to understand that NINAS works in facts and truths. I'm glad you pointed that out. It is very easy nowadays. Computer technology allows you to go online and create anything, any alternate reality that you choose. You can actually create a meeting right now with President Biden online, a meeting that did not happen. It's very easy. But NINAS does things the right way. We take the time to get it right. And NINAS is about integrity. When you look at the people that signed the constitutional force majeure, look at those individuals. These are not people that are just going to join anybody or say anything. If you're not working in integrity, such individuals will not allow you in their space. If you know them, if you know those people, you will not even cross the gate. But they came along, and some of the signatories have talked about with their friends, calling them and said, we saw your name somewhere. You need to stop this thing. Some people are using your name and they're looking at them and going, are you serious? I am actually telling them, look, I'm part of the thing. I'm part of the movement. No one has come out and said, no, but anybody put my signature on any paper, because these are men of integrity who stood up, standing with an organization with integrity. And that's how we get things done at NINAS. NINAS, Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, an alliance of the middle belt of Nigeria and the South. And that's who we are. If you have any questions, I hope I have addressed all the people who are talking about who come in there into these forums and be throwing questions and insults and things of that nature. There's no need for that. If you want information, you can always come to us and we can clarify and tell you more things that you don't know about NINAS and who we are. Thank you very much. So is Akuche there?
It's Iyabo that is coming on first. Iyabo.
Okay, Iyabo is coming on first. Okay.
Yes, she's going to be talking about what is secular.
Okay, yeah. Iyabo, go there.
Welcome,
yes,
Iyabo.
yes.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Hey,
can you
welcome. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
It's nice to be here. Though the
Amen.
statistics are scary.
Yes.
May God help us all. Secular state is a state where the government does not participate in anything religious, where the state remains neutral, it's purported to remain neutral in religious or irreligious matters. Where the state is neutral and people are free to have their religious practices any way they choose to do it, any way they want to. You can be anything. Nigeria is a multi-religious state. We have so many people, so many different ethnic groups and religions. Unfortunately, what really the definition and what obtains on ground is quite different. Even though Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state, we cannot really say people have the freedom of religion, freedom to practice what they want to be what they want to be, or be who they really want to be. Because in Nigeria, only two religions dominate the religious space, Christianity and Islam, even though we have people from other religions. For example, these religions, they are so powerful that depending on who is in government, they sort of call the shots. Muslims, we rather have Sharia dominate the religious space, like totality of their lives, on government and everything, be controlled by religion. But Christians want religion and the state to be separated. And other religions, like the traditionalists and so on, can't even get recognition from the government. Even though the document, the constitution says Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state, but a lot of things just don't go that way, because we can see that even traditionalists cannot even have a single day. They've been asking for a single day just to be given. They've not been able to receive that. We cannot really say Nigeria is not a secular state, or because the document says Nigeria is supposed to be free, it's supposed to be secular, because there is no real state religion that has been identified. Like Nigeria does not really say I'm a Christian state or a Muslim state, like we can talk about in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia or the Vatican or some states in South America that are totally Catholics. But yet, in Nigeria, there is so much. We can say that, God help us, we can see that even some governments are dominated by a certain religion. We can see that when we want to do things like rites, prayers, meetings, they will start with Christian, Muslim religion, like there are no other religions. Other religions are not really giving much chance. People are not really. And if you don't belong to a particular sect, you may not even get into some political positions or some appointments and so on. A lot of things are going on, and it's very difficult to say that the government is truly neutral or that Nigeria is a neutral state. Even though we have seen so many countries that say that are supposed to be neutral states, like the United States, their motto is God bless America. But we can say that that's a neutral statement. They've not identified with any particular God or any. But in Nigeria, most of our something have backgrounds in sort of religious sect, our currency, our everything we can say. So Nigeria is not an isolated case, but in Nigeria, religion is really playing a very vital role that is difficult to say Nigeria is a secular state. I mean, I don't really, in my submission, believe that Nigeria is truly a secular state. And for Nigeria to attain what's supposed to attain, I think things should be done to improve the situation.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Ogundiran, for that rousing information. One of the things that is important for us to take away as we're talking about if the 1999 Constitution tilts Nigeria towards being an Islamic state, is to understand what is a secular state, right? And that's exactly what she has provided to us. And she's also provided to us that Nigeria is meant to be a secular state and not a state that is tilted towards one religion or the other, because we have a multi-religious, multi-ethnic environment in Nigeria. I will hand back to you, Johnny, to continue.
Johnny, you are muted. Johnny, you are muted.
Oh, yes. Thank you, our sister Yabo. Donald, is Seb Budaja there ready for me? I see Seb over there.
Yeah, I just wanted to add. I would just want to add something to what Yabo had said.
Okay.
You know, when comparing Nigeria, when looking at Nigeria being a secular nation, it's difficult to actually think if Nigeria is a secular nation if you have states in Nigeria that have they have, like we were talking about this afternoon, the Hispa police system. That's the Sharia police system. It's a religious police system. So that means that, and this Hispa is actually empowered by the 1999 Constitution. Because when you're looking at the Constitution, you see it actually makes provision for the Grand Cadi. That is equivalent of a
Sorry,
judge.
I'm sorry, Donald, to interrupt, but can we just kind of stick with, because we're going to discuss, once we provide the basic information, then everyone's going to talk about, what is and what isn't. We're just going to try to provide the background information now. So if I could please ask all the presenters, just present the information and not your observations as to if it is or it's not, because that's where we want everyone to be able to contribute based on the information that we provide. Okay. So if we could have Seb is going to be talking about the comparison, the 1963 Constitution and the 1999. Let's see how things have changed.
Yes, let me just thank you so much, moderators. Our sister Yabo, yes, she asked a very relevant question by saying, is Nigeria a secular state? If you go to the extant constitution, that controversial constitution, which Ninas is bringing down, has brought down. If you go to that constitution, the shortest section in that constitution is section 10. It's the shortest. And what does that section say? I read it verbatim, word to word. Section 10, titled Prohibition of State Religion. Content: the government of the federation or of a state shall not adopt any religion as state religion. This is the constitution upon which everybody in Abuja in the government is operating. So section 10 says that Nigeria is a secular state. That's what it's supposed to be, right? No state religion. Not in the state, not in the federal level. But when you start analyzing this constitution, you see a hell of things that is mind-boggling. 12 contiguous states in the north have adopted Sharia. The question is, did our founding fathers accept such a thing? How can we answer that question? We go back to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The last one was in 1963. What we have today is a constitution of a unitary Nigeria imposed on the people. So we go back and compare these two constitutions. What does the 1963 Federal Constitution say? Does it have Sharia in it? If you analyze it, you find out that there are mentions made of Sharia in it 13 times. 13 times. When you look deeper, you find, these mentions that were made of Sharia, we are referring to the constitution of the northern region. Remember that we had a federal system which comprised of, as at 1963, it comprised of 4 regions. Each of these regions had its own constitution, and then they came together and agreed on a federal constitution. So there are certain places where the federal constitution made a reference to the regional constitution, the northern regional law, For example, in section 22, subsection 4E, right? It made indications of freedoms of the regions and things about Sharia. It made indication about in section 119 of the 1963 Constitution, it made indication about appeals to Supreme Court concerning Sharia in things that arise from the regional constitution. Now, and that is all. If we look in 1999 constitution, as opposed to 13 times that Sharia was mentioned in 1963 constitution as reference, you will see a whooping 73 times being made mention of Sharia in our so-called federal constitution. 73 times. And if you start going through it, you will lose your mind. Section 260, 261, 262, 263, 264, 275, 276, 278, 279, and so on, 289. You continue going, you see sections we are dedicated to Sharia. Are we having a secular union? Our sister Yabo correctly asked the question. Now, we say, okay, what about the word Islam? Let's check Islam. You go back to the constitution of our founding fathers, Islam was not mentioned, not once. Okay, what about Christianity? Christianity was not mentioned, not once, because our founding fathers were founding a secular federation. But in the 1999 constitution, Islam is mentioned 28 times. Christianity was mentioned 0 times, 0. But Islam was mentioned 28 times. In the 1963 federal constitution, Qadi was mentioned 0 times. What is Qadi? Qadi is a judge in Sharia. A judge in Sharia. Grand Qadi is a magistrate or a high judge in Sharia. These two classes of judges were mentioned 0 times in the federal constitution that Nigeria had. That was the Nigeria that we had. I was born into that Nigeria. In the imposed fraudulent 1999 constitution, Islamic judge Qadi was mentioned 54 times. And the supreme magistrate judge of the Sharia system was mentioned 37 times. We talked about Christian, okay? What about Muslim? The word Muslim was mentioned in the old federal constitution now 0 times, not. While in the current constitution, this word was mentioned 10 times. The same thing, you can, people who believe in traditional religion, they will say, okay, if Islamism is mentioned, then it means we also cover traditional religion. The old constitution did not mention traditional religion. The current constitution also ignored traditional religion. So nobody cares about you. So the question now is, are we having an Islamic state? Why do we have our constitution filled up with this religious legal system which can chop off your hand, which can stone somebody to death? Are we having a state where someone who is not a Muslim can move from Plateau State, go to Zamfara State, and found a family there, found his business there, and live there in peace without being stoned? Can he create a beer parlor there? That is the question. The 12 states in the north, by adopting Sharia, have actually answered the question with a no. Yes, they have been destroying people's property, people selling beer. They have destroyed. We saw them in various footings. So what are we having? Okay, if these 12 contiguous states in the north have decided to apply Sharia to live by it is their right, okay? But that goes against Section 10 of the extant constitution, which means they have simply decided to secede. So where is our beloved, highly respected President Muhammad Buhari? Why was he talking about secession? Now we have what we call the federal account, yeah, where all the money that comes from oil, from minerals, from VAT are paid into. All the VAT, most of the VAT that comes from the south, much of it comes from alcohol. This money goes into the federal account, and this money is shared among the states according to the number of local governments and such things. In effect, Lagos State, which produces the highest amount of VAT, they will get a portion of 20 out of it. While Kano State, which operates Sharia and forbids alcohol, we get 44 portions out of the alcohol VAT from Lagos. Please, it looks so.
Okay, we need to move on because we need to stick with the Constitution.
Yes,
let's round up. Let's round up.
Yes, let me just end here, please. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned Kano, Seb, because you mentioned the 40 or 43 or thereabout. You
44.
Actually were 44. The actual number is about 73. If you understand that, I mean, if you remember that when Kano had 20 local government areas, Lagos had 20 local government areas.
Let me clarify on it, Johnny.
Yes.
Initially, guys, let's cut.
Yes, I'll be very quick. For those who don't know,
we're going to be talking about that later. Kucha is going to give us some talk on that, guys. That's why I'm trying to keep everyone in their lane so people don't get confused.
That's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. But I mean, that was a great presentation, Seb. That was absolutely great. And I think everyone here, because, you know, we're not always going to go into the Constitution and start looking at these things, right? History is no longer being taught for quite a while, so that the indigenous Nigerians won't understand what we agreed to. But lucky for us, everything is documented. 1963 Constitution compared to 1999. You find all these gaping holes. So if they say that we the people made it, well, half of we the people are Christians. There's another percentage that are non-Christians. There are those who are moderate Muslims and don't believe in Sharia. Where were we? Were we so stupid that we saw it and we said, oh, this is wonderful? We're bringing these things out. They're facts. Our people need to understand the facts. You ambassadors that are here today need to understand this facts and let other people know, because that's how we get out of where we are. So thank you, Seb. That really was fantastic.
Thank you very much, Seb. That was good. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Is Pastor Thomas here?
Yes, he is. And
okay,
now I've lost him. But Pastor Thomas and I are actually going to take this section. And this section is talking about the
I see Pastor Thomas.
I see. Yes, he is. I'm going to tell him to unmute because him and I are going to be taking this section.
I asked him to unmute, yes. Okay. Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so in this section, we are going to be talking about the, we're going to be talking about the OIC, which is the Organization of Islamic Conference, which used to be the Organization of Islamic Countries. And we're also going to be talking about the Joint Multi-Regional Task force. Okay, so the OIC, as I said, is the Organization for Islamic Conference, and Nigeria is a member, a full member there. Now, as we heard, Nigeria is supposed to be circular. And if you look at all the countries there, most of those countries there are Islamic leaning. Should a secular nation be in OIC? That's a question that we need to answer here today as we're talking about that. And as Thomas, you had talked about the presidents that had gone to the OIC meetings in the past. You want to touch upon that?
Yeah, first of all, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you. Now, I want to first of all touch on Nigeria being a member of OIC. Now, Nigeria, that is supposedly to be a secular state, but now a member of OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation or Conference. I mean,
countries.
It's an irony. It's an irony because we have multi-religions. Nigeria is a multi-religious country. Fraudulent 1999 Constitution, Section 10 and Section 42 of this Constitution, of the 1999 Constitution, particularly Section 10 that was read to us, and I read it again, and also Section 42. The government of the federation or of a state shall not adopt any religion as being, it's in blueprint. But why would Nigeria, and in Section 42 of this same Constitution, Section 42 has also touched on that. Then Nigeria becoming a member of OIC is totally unacceptable because it is clearly pointing us to the fact that some group of people or religion wants to dominate the country and make Nigeria an Islamic state, which is not. I mean, it is very clear to everyone that in Nigeria we have different religions. I mean, so with all of these different religions, then Nigeria is not supposed to be a member of OIC. But by doing that, it's a clear indication by a move from these people that they want to Islamize Nigeria. Just being a member only is an indication, it's just a pointer that Nigeria is an Islamic nation, which is not supposed to be. So in the past, several of our leaders have actually visited the OIC
meetings,
down to our current president, Mr. Buhari, the conference in Morocco. And I'm just imagining going to a meeting of a religious meeting of nations, states, and Nigeria is not as a religious country, but a secular state. So, I mean, there's so much to actually consider because of this action by our leaders. But for now, maybe I'll just allow Dr. Jean to still further on that.
I love it. I've got a new title, Dr. Jean. Okay. I mean, one of the things, to remember is that the OIC is dedicated to furthering, right? It's dedicated to furthering. It says it's the collective voice of the Muslim world, the collective voice of the Muslim world. So if Nigeria is part of that, and there are other people in Nigeria who are not Muslim, if the presidents of Nigeria are going there, what does that say to the rest of the country? And it's there they're working to safeguard and protect the interests of the Muslim world. Okay, so now if that's not bad enough, we're going to go on to the Joint Multi-Regional Task Force. This is a task force in the region, in the Lake Chad region, that is put in place to fight jihadists. Wonderful idea. How come there are no Christian-leaning countries in that joint multi-regional task force? There are no other secular countries in there. They're only Islamic. And again, one of the things that we have to say is that this conversation about that we're having here is not a religious one, but we're just kind of trying to point out to you what's in the Constitution. And Akuche is going to talk about what's going on in Nigeria as a result of the things that we're talking about. And then we're going to open up the conversation to everyone. But what we're talking about is it's not about religion. But we're talking about what having that religion in there is being used to do. Because Ninas, it's got Christians, atheists, Muslims, everyone is represented in Ninas. And the people that are being killed are mainly Christians, indigenous Nigerians who are not Christians, even moderate Muslims are being killed. So it's not so much as we're coming against the Islamic religion. We're just pointing out what's going on in Nigeria and what it's being used to do to the indigenous Nigerians by the non-indigenous minority that are in Nigeria. So I just want to make that clear. But again, here is a group that's supposed to be fighting jihadists. Take a look at any of the news and you will see it over and over. They are ineffective. I wonder why. Muslims fighting Muslims. So then you come to Nigeria. You've got Boko Haram, ISWAP, ISIS. All of these groups, Fulani herdsmen, Islamic. And you see the lack of effort to fight those people. I assure you, if Ghana was on that multi-regional task force, things would be happening. If any of the secular or with a mix of Christian countries were in that group, things will be happening. But so we find ourselves, and this is I'm rounding up so that Akuche would now tell us what's going on with all the stuff we're talking about before we open up the discussion to everyone. Right? So we've got the OIC membership, and then we've got the multi-regional task force being simply the nations that have the religion of the people that they're supposedly fighting. Again, facts, that's all we're presenting. And then as I said, after Akuche, we'll then talk about what do you think about if the 1999 Constitution, as Seb so eloquently laid out, is tilting us in a direction that we don't exactly like right now. So Akuche, thank you very much. You are welcome. I know you have a lot to tell us, and I had to head off some of the people so that they don't steal your thunder. That talks about what's actually going on in Nigeria. There is a lot, my people. And again, ambassadors, everyone, you need to be sharing this information. Welcome, Akuche.
Thank you so much, Jean, and thank you to everyone who's spoken so eloquently. I know that, there are some points that you touched on, and I'm also going to touch on them, but you can't really at this time take away from, one would always go with the other because of what is happening in Nigeria right now. So it stands to say that somebody might say something and then someone else would say something else, because it's all like it goes hand in hand. So Absolutely. What is going on in Nigeria right now? Most key positions are held by Fulani Muslims. Islamic, sorry, my little child is knocking on the door. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Motherhood. So most key positions in Nigeria are held by Fulani or Muslims. Islamic Fulani headmen and other Islamic terrorists are openly parading with AK-47s, killing hundreds, thousands of Christians. You heard the numbers. Moderate Muslims and others without any effort to bring them to justice. But someone like Sunday Igboho has been targeted by the military and and his home has been attacked. You saw his properties destroyed. We've seen all the videos, saw the people that were killed, and now he's been hunted. But then the other ones are going around walking freely. These are the things that are going on in Nigeria right now. You see people like the Sheikh Gumi, Kaduna, Zamfara, and Bauchi governors openly meeting and negotiating, with or paying gun-carrying kidnappers, paying bandits, terrorists, and then they leave them with their guns. You see people like Mieti Allah admitting to killings, but claims that they are revenge, right? But according to the UN, and you heard when Jean spoke about this, over 300,000, at least 350,000 have been killed in the northeastern region, right? So for now, threatens Benue State governor, and not a word from our government, from the government or the governors or the lawmakers. Nobody is saying anything about it. It's almost like it's a normal thing and we should just expect it, and it's okay. Recently, I think yesterday, I saw a report where El Rifai was saying, giving, reason to why the Fulani headsmen or the Boko Haram should not be compared to a certain person of interest, right? And saying that, but they are not, at least they are not this and they're not. Can you imagine the things like that are coming from our so-called leaders, right? The leaders and the people in the places of authority. So this is what is happening, right? Hisbah police established in the far north to carry out Sharia law, while middle belts to the south have no police that they control, right? And this is supposed to be a secular, if we're going by what it should have been, right? And then alcoholic drinks are being destroyed in Kano. I think, Seb spoke to that. But Sharia states get the larger revenues from taxes on alcoholic beverages given from the Federation. Like, can you even imagine that? Right? So when you think about all of these things that are happening, then you now wonder, you see the relationship between everything that's happening and this 1999 Constitution and everything that Nina stands for and all we are fighting for and saying, right, that this is not supposed to be in a true federation. If we were practicing true federalism, like how it was pre-1996, right, where all the regions had their constitutions and then the center was decentralized, we weren't seeing all this, right? But now at this point, this is what is going on in Nigeria, and it's very worrisome. It's really scary, and this is why we need to come together more, and we have to, put our call to actions need to be clear. We need to know what we're doing. We need to run with it. We need to move forward with this with a lot of speed, because every day people are losing their lives, and we can't continue to think that it's not going to come to our doorsteps, so it's not going to get to us, because it's only a matter of time at this point. Let me give it back to Jim. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And there's just a couple of interesting facts before we open it up to the discussion about if it's tilting us. And again, as Akuche so eloquently stated, all the things that's going on. In February 2021, the federal government issued a note in all the papers to the police to provide the list of the Fulani herdsmen that were being tried in the court system, because El Rufai said the only reason we haven't seen that is because it takes time. It is July 3rd, 2022. We're still waiting for the list. So apparently there's one justice for everybody else and another for the Islamic Fulani herdsmen, who have been killing, and they say it's revenge killing, but just in the Northeast, 350,000 people revenge killings. Where are the numbers on the other side? Where is the 350 that was killed on the other side? And then recently, couple of things. When gold was found in Zamfara, was that put into the federal account? And then the news just this week said that there's oil in the north. And once again, it's going to be used to cure poverty in the far north. So in this Constitution, apparently the Middle Belt to the South willingly gave up all of their assets so that they can receive just, a small bit of it. But the far north, every time they find something, belongs to the far north. That's facts in Nigeria. So now we're going to open it up and have that discussion. Thus, the 1999 Constitution tilt Nigeria from being to being an Islamic state or a secular nation. We've given you the facts, and we'll open it up to the discussion as to what your thoughts are, given all that's going on. Johnny?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is very clear. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Akuche. Thank you, everyone that has spoken. You spoke eloquently and you spoke clearly. The sickness is the 1999 Constitution. For everyone watching out there, if you have ever had any doubt as to what is causing all this, it is that document. That document. These people that are taking over your space, taking over everything that we own, cannot do it. They cannot dominate you physically. They cannot dominate you intellectually in a fair fight. It is the Constitution that says that you signed over these things to them. That's why they take it. That's why you don't even see the money going. If you saw this money going from traveling from Lagos to Kano, you'd probably be shouting. If you're from Lagos, you'll be shouting, why is this money going over there? But it travels through, it's like something that is not even there, that is not even happening if you're not paying attention. So we are being cheated. We have been conned. We have been scammed. This is 419 at the highest level. And that is why Ninas is taking a stand and saying, no, no, no. I'm going to, Donald, do you have anything? I think Dr. Moore and Donald are going to talk about this.
Yeah, we're just going to open it up now for the people to ask questions, make comments, and give their observations.
Yes, does anybody
what's
have
in
anything?
The Constitution? Yeah.
Yes, I'm looking for raised hands. Yes, I see Edith. Edith, I would like you to speak. Edith, what's your last name? Oh, I'm going to unmute Edith. Edith. Okay. Hello, Edith.
Hi,
I'd like you to
unmute.
introduce yourself, please, and speak. Yes, and ask.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Edith Wachuku, originally from Abia State.
Okay.
I live in London. I was invited by Honorable Matthew to this forum, and I've been reading things that has been happening all this while. I got a bit confused. So I know that we have people like IPOP doing their own freedom thing. What is, I've read a bit of the concept on the forum. What exactly do we want Nigeria to do? To split or to change the constitution? So that's my question.
Thank you very much, Edith. Who wants to take that question?
May I respond to that?
Yes.
If I may respond to that. There's a very interesting concept when we talk about split. Let us explain what we were and where we're now so it is clear. Nigeria in 1960 to 1966 was 4 self-governing, autonomous nations called regions with their own constitutions, with a small center that was supposed to have rotating leaders. 4 separate governments: the Western region, the Midwestern region, the Eastern region, and the Northern region. They each had their own constitution. What happened after all the military brouhaha is that Nigeria was now collapsed into one government. Remember, Nigeria was 4, but that was considered one union in Nigeria, right? So when we talk about splitting and making that sound as if we're trying to do something new, we're not. It's a restoration of what was stolen in collapsing the Federal Republic of Nigeria into unitary Nigeria. The sovereignty, the self-determination of those ethnic nationalities have been stolen, and it needs to be restored because it is an inalienable right, meaning you cannot separate them from it. So Edith, what is Nina's asking? Nina's is saying, we're not talking about breakup because everyone says it's one Nigeria. We were one when we were 4. We're saying that because things have changed so drastically, we need to stop that constitution, end it, which Nina's proclaimed the constitutional force majeure December 16th of 2020. Because unitary Nigeria, that constitution was not put in place by the people. There's no referendum, there's no plebiscite, so there's no unitary Nigeria. Now we need to go to referendum so that those ethnic nationalities will vote in their bloc and make a decision, take their self-determination. What did they want to do? And then based on the result of each of the blocs voting, we now take a look to see, do we need to come up with new federating terms, which would be, is Nigeria going to stay Nigeria? Or are the nations going to decide that they want to be like independent and not really, you know, or maybe 2 of them want to get together, or maybe 3 of them, or maybe, you know, one was, you know, we don't know, but we know that the 1999 Constitution is ended and we don't want it back. That's why we're stopping the 2023 elections, so that now the ethnic nationalities can now reclaim their self-determination. It's not a breakup. It's not cessation. It's not splitting. It's a restoration of the rights of the ethnic nationalities.
Okay.
Is that clear?
That is actually absolutely clear. And given the fact of what is happening when it comes to people agitating for Biafra, won't the Nigerian government misunderstood the concept and think you're part of this? What actually separates leaders from this agitation? I don't know if I'm taking anybody backward, because this is my first time of attending this meeting. Yeah, so apologies if I'm taking people who have started attending this meeting from the onset backward. Yeah, but I just want to be very clear so that I can know how I can participate fully. So apologies for everything.
Okay, who wants to take that? Johnny, Seb, Donald?
Yes,
Do you guys want to take that one?
Yes, Edith, I am so, oh, Seb, go ahead and take that, Seb. I can come later. It's a very important question. So we need to address that. Is Seb there? If not, I can go first. Seb,
I can take that. Is it that?
Oh, this is, okay, Donald, you can go first. This is important. Okay. Let's spend time and talk about this, yeah.
Okay, Edith, you're asking, and you want to really understand the position of NINAs so that they are not mistaken for wanting to succeed like other groups. Now, if you look at when NINAs declared the constitutional force majeure, NINAs had some demands. When you look at those demands, it gives you a clear position of NINAs. One of the 5 demands, the first one was that the government should recognize the constitutional grievances that are expressed by the regional blocs, and that the government should also recognize the sovereignty dispute to acknowledge it. Then NINAs went ahead to say that having recognized that there is a constitutional grievance, that the government should suspend, should jettison the 1999 Constitution, and also stop all elections under that Constitution. NINAs also recommended the way forward to the government and wanted the government to invite the indigenous nationalities to come, not what they call the sovereignty national conferences that have been going on. This one is to invite the indigenous nationalities to come and create a path, like a time-bound program to help guide the government. See, NINAs is supposed to help guide the government in the transition. And the process of this was to help the government put up what we call the People's Constitution. Because what we have today is a fraud. The people did not make the Constitution, even though the preamble of the Constitution says that we, the people, agreed and enacted these things for ourselves. So NINAs is saying that, look, you're going to do it in 2 stages. The first stage is that let indigenous nationalities go back to their regions and come up with a constitution that will be distilled and rectified by a referendum, meaning that everybody will participate to say, yes, I want this, I want to live by these guidelines. No, I don't want to live by these guidelines. So it comes in by way of the vote, referendum. And based on the results of that referendum, each of these blocks will now go to the center to renegotiate their federating terms. You understand? They are going back to renegotiate their federating terms, meaning that my people can say that if we want to continue in this union called Nigeria, that means all the physical assets we have in my place will belong to us. We will determine what we want to give to the center. Not the way it is now, where the center takes everything that belongs to me and decides what to give.
Right.
So
if we can, sorry, Donald, can you address the second part of her question, which is how do we prevent ourselves from being lumped in with the other? What's different in what we're doing than what Biafra, for instance, is doing, or, the so-called agitators, because we're not agitating.
Yes, exactly. That's the second part, because the concept has been explained and understood. Now, how do we not differentiate NINA from the agitators? That's the last question that I asked. You're right. Thank you.
The difference is this: when you look at most of the agitators, they do not really come out to say this is their strategies. This is how they want to achieve what they want. It is more of a protest and talking and violence and so forth and challenging the government. We are not challenging the government. We write to them. We express what we want. We have our guidelines. Other agitators do not have a guideline. In fact, some of them want a situation where people die and too much that the international communities will come to intervene, of which, because of the sovereignty issues, it might not happen. But NINAS has a clear guidelines and has always expressed same governments. So I think with that, I think it's actually because we have our guidelines, others do not. That is how you separate.
Right,
Okay.
and
Thank you.
NINAS is working
with the governments.
Yes,
right.
and may I add, Edith, very good question you asked. Farming season just ended in Nigeria. In some places, it's still going on. In every farming season, if your community is just like mine, some people are going to encroach into other people's lands and spaces. And if you notice, the people whose lands were encroached into don't sit there and say, okay, just take, since you like my land, go, it's yours now. That's not what they do. They come up, they fight for their space. They use everything within the law to make sure that they recover the space that was taken from them. So when somebody comes into your space and begins to take everything that is there, make them theirs, and they did not even ask you, you must stand up. If you don't, nobody is going to do that for you. This is something that belongs to us that we're talking about, our sovereignty. Sovereignty starts with a map and ends with a constitution. The difference between us and the agitators that you're referring to is that we have a map. You can put a map to NINAS, to what NINAS has. Our space that we call Lower Niger, there's a map to it. And in that map, all the power centers within that map were consulted, and they decided to be part of this effort before we even went public with it. I talked earlier about going from the Oba of Benin, all the top leaders in the Igbo land, Oba of Benin, the Olu of Warri, the Amanyana boss, Odumegwu Ojukwu, Sisi Ono, Anthony Nahoro, top names in that space, all were involved. Chinua Achebe, the late Chinua Achebe, they were all involved. They all saw this thing and said, this is the way to go. Across the land, all the way to the Obong in Calabar, the religious leaders, people were brought in. So when I come in and talk about Lower Niger, Donald, who is not from Igbo land, Donald Epo, is going to tell me, yes, I'm into it. I'm in it. It's me. My people are in it. He's in it as I am. You're going to see people here from Middle Belt, from all the regions. But just talking about the Lower Niger, you're going to see people that are Efik, Urobo, Bini, Ishekiri, all people in this NINAS forum. They are all part of it. So you can put a map to it. When you go to the United Nations and you say, I want this territory, I want XYZ to happen within this space, they are going to ask you, number one, where is the map? That is required. You present a map to them, they look at the map. If it is like Yoruba land, which is homogeneous, everyone is Yoruba, they don't have to ask you this next question. But if you are from the Lower Niger or you're from the Middle Belt, they're going to ask you for a charter of relationships. Where are the other people? You're not coming there to speak for them. They are there to speak for themselves. They stand there with you saying that you and them are together on this journey. There has to be an agreement. If you don't have these two basic things, they will not even talk to you. Now go to these agitators and you ask them, where is the map of this territory you're talking about? That map does not exist. We've been asking for it for a very long time. You cannot put a map to it. If this was an Igbo project, you can put a map to Igbo. But if you're talking about a region or a territory that includes Donald's hometown, Donald, are you part of that? Is your hometown part of that? I'm going to let Donald speak for himself, or other people that come from the Lower Niger, people that are part of this supposedly Biafra. Donald, please speak for your...
The issue is states, because of the memories of that name, and some saw some other people as betrayers, some saw some people like heroes. It's actually very difficult to have people from my place or other regions in the South willingly want to agree that they are part of it. So if there is no relationship, there is no chapter of relationship that puts us there willing, except it has to be by conquer. And you know, you cannot run away from one conqueror to another conquered territory. So our people are not part of that. But we are more comfortable with the lower Niger territory.
Yes. Any other person from the lower Niger who wants to speak up?
If we can move on from that, okay. I think we've kind of answered that.
I think, I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Edith. Welcome. We love you.
We have Fatoki. Fatoki, do you want to unmute and ask your question? Fatoki, do you want to unmute and ask? There you go.
Hello, good evening, everybody,
good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen. It's good to see you again, Sister Jane. God bless you. I have two questions, actually. The first one is, since my last time of coming down here, no notification, nothing. Nobody to contact you or to, advise you of anything. I just thought, let me try the link again. Maybe I'll be able to get into the meeting if there is a meeting. So I would really like to have an information on that, how I can be getting notification for the meetings and, being part of, I would like to be an active member, really. That's number one. Two, I'm exceptionally worried about what's been going on all over the nation, Nigeria, the last few days. And I'm exceptionally more worried after I heard the news today regarding the madam that is representing Nigerian representative of the United Nations, the Fulani woman, Amina Mohammed. She is a Fulani. I wanted to ask, at this point, this woman will never, I don't think, I'm not sure if I'm right or not, but the vibe I'm getting is if they've actually put her there strategically to be, I know everywhere, in every parastatal position, Buhari had managed to put his people there. So this woman happens to be another Fulani, which we're not really surprised with anyway. So she's there. Is she going to be in our own interest? Or is she going to be a stumbling block for our, not agitation, our self-determination application?
Yes.
I am so worried about her. So these are my two questions. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, with regards to contact, that's why we always ask people to provide their contact information so that we can get you plugged in. And we also provide information with our email address and also Twitter handles. So if you can't get us one way, and if you don't have your information here, you'll be able to get us a different way. So we do have.
Should I put it in the notes?
Yes, please. Yes, please. We have www.freedomfromnigeria.com. We've got ninasffn.org. We've got the Twitter handles, etc. And we post those all the time, in these meetings so that we can get people connected, because we need to get people connected. Now, for the second part of that regarding the United Nations, I'm going to let somebody else deal with that. Seb, Donald, do you guys want to, who else is here that I see want to deal with the United Nations question? Johnny, you're muted.
Oh, okay. Pastor Kerry I would like to know whether he wants to answer a question or ask a question, because he's very knowledgeable on these matters. Oh, please unmute yourself. I want to know whether he can actually speak on this. Please, Pastor Kerry.
All right. Yes. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I can add on that, and also I just wanted to also comment about this secularity or otherwise of Nigeria and Sharia law aspect. So, but I'm just going to comment first about the representative in the United Nations. If she's Fulani, she will never, never represent Nina's interest, or the indigenous Nigerians' interest. It's a strategic ploy by the Buhari government to put them in strategic places so that they can give the wrong narrative. I can compare that to what is happening to the Middle Belt, where the killings are going on, and the narrative they're giving to the United Nations is that it is a conflict between herders and farmers. But it's not a conflict; it's a genocide. Mm-hmm. You have a conflict when we have a disagreement, but I live in my house or my farm, and you come and kill me. Mm-hmm. You decimate. For example, in Southern Kaduna, about 117 communities completely displaced. Mm-hmm. Yes. You can't call that. So that's one of the reasons why she's there, so that the wrong narrative will go to the United Nations. So the United Nations will be kind of clogged, and they will not take actions as the way they're supposed to. But thank God for platform. Organizations like Nina's. We're here to send the right message, to say no, they're wrong. No, this is what's happening. So in a nutshell, it's a strategy, and they think they will succeed, but they will fail because the people are becoming conscious. We know our rights. And the nations, United Nations, the United States and other nations, and here in Britain, they know, the Parliament know. They're getting to know that, yes, this is not true. It's not a conflict. It's a genocide. It's a persecution. In fact, it's going to be a persecution, but it's genocide. Mm-hmm. Can I go to talk about the Sharia, or do I post a little bit about the, yeah?
I was going to ask, actually. You don't even have to answer this, but it's just, I'll be satisfied with a yes or no answer. Yeah. So she's put there strategically.
Yes.
I hope that we, Ninas, have got our own strategy to actually curb our actions. Because I would think that the United Nations is a very reputable embodiment, and they won't want their reputation to be tarnished by some Fulani woman that is there, discrediting their abilities. So do we have, I hope, I don't know how to put it. I don't want you to explain, because I know this is an open place. There are so many moles all over the place now, set around, I just want to know, I hope that we do have ways that we're dealing with her, and that's
the answer to that is yes. Ninas, the framework, what you see as Ninas today, has been in the UN for many years.
I know.
Has been with in the United States government. So we have those. Yes, the answer to that is yes.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, on what Pastor Kerry, let me talk about one that took place in the public space. When the delegation that got to the United States, the engagements with the United States government in 2019 took place. And by the way, engagements with the US have been on since 2015. That was going on, with people in the United communication, them knowing what is going on in our space, which you can actually read about in that publication by the US military from 2015. Engagements have been going on. The Secretary General of NINAS, Tony Nadi, had been in the US, has spoken in US congressional events before 2019. There has been, in fact, when he went, that delegation that he led that came to the United States engaged at the highest level of US policymakers. That was the engagement. It was on television. It was covered, and some of the things, the first presentation that was made on June 5th, 2019 was about this thing. These are narratives that Pastor Joseph Kerry just talked about, where they're talking about farmers versus herders.
Yes.
And things like that. And then they went over to banditry. They gave it all kinds of explanations as to what was going on. How can it be farmers versus herders when the herder traveled 200 miles to get to the farmer's house? Farm. How is it that? So that was dislodged. And you have to know how, we know how these things work internationally.
Yeah.
There are lobbyists that are paid by the Nigerian government in all the power centers around the world. They pay them this money to present them in the best light. And they will go to these foreign governments and lie to them about what is going on in their space. So one of the strongest things that was made by Tony Nadi in Washington was, and what made that visit so important and drove the United States to now take policy stance with regards to Nigeria, informing Nigeria that they're now paying attention to what was going on, knowing the truth about what was going on, that led to Agnes Callamard being sent to Nigeria to go and for the special rapporteur. All those things, they were all direct results of those engagements in Washington. Because the US has, there's something about this country, the United States of America.
Yes.
You know, you can look at, you can say they are not 100% perfect in this or that, but their intentions are usually very good. They fight for the downtrodden, justice. That nobody has championed the fight for justice and equal rights than this country around the world.
True. It's very true.
Yes, and they set out to, on this matter, understanding the truth is one of the great successes of NINAS that has driven so many things, the executive orders and all kinds of things that pertain to Nigeria and where they stand on this issue. So yes, NINAS has covered those grounds. Thank you. God bless.
I'm glad now.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Johnny, could I say something briefly about the secularity Sharia law?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Right. Whilst the Middle Belt, the Lower Niger, the Southwest, and the Southeast have seen Nigeria as a secular state, the Caliphate has never seen Nigeria as a secular state, and that's that explains why the move and how they got to put the Sharia law in the constitution and the implementation of it in the north. And it brought about bloodbath. That was killings and so on when it was implemented, especially in Kaduna State and southern Kaduna. There were lots of churches in the north that were killed and pastors when it was implemented. The thing about the Sharia, so Nigeria is tilting towards an Islamic state and not a secular state. And the Sharia law has three ramifications. It has no recognition of other religions or minorities. It's either you're forcefully converted or you become a slave or you are killed. These are the three strands of Sharia law. And Sharia law is not compatible with democracy. So unless that is expunged in the new constitution that hopefully the indigenous Nigerians will come up with, Nigeria will never experience peace. Never. Yes. With Sharia law. And unfortunately, we have a current government that's a Sharia government. The president himself has said unequivocally that he is a champion and will fight for the cause of Sharia. And also we have the CGN now, the Chief Justice of Nigeria is a Sharia man. So we actually govern, we're being governed, I mean, in principle, okay, I mean, by the Sharia constitution as it is now. And hence the escalation of the war and the fighting and the jihad that's going on. That's all I wanted to add.
Okay, awesome. I think that's great. Yeah.
Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know, Pastor Kerry is from the Middle Belt. So he's talking about what he knows. And if you remember, one of the meetings that had to be, when the North was being formed, the North that we got to know, the Middle Belt did not want to be in that North.
Yeah.
But it was very important to the British and their Fulani friends that that the Middle Belt become part of it. People like Joseph Tucker, they fought against it. And one of the compromises that had to be made was that there was not going to be religious, that it was going to be a secular region. It was one of the compromises that was made. So this is not even a new thing. The Middle Belt has been standing up against that thing before that North emerged. So the British made it very clear that if Middle Belt is not part of the North, there's no independence going on. That's going to happen. It was like a place, they said, this is non-negotiable. That was how important it was for them. And the major compromise was on this matter of religion. Thank you.
Okay, we have Chris.
Chris, unmute.
Okay, my question is, we have been seeing how the federal government have been acting with impunity and total disregard for the rule of law and crushing legitimate peaceful demands. How are we going to get the federal government to respond to our lawful demand, as it appears that the international community are not doing enough to curb the federal government excesses?
Who's going to take that? Thank you, our brother Chris. Good for you.
How about let me try to kind of frame that. That's actually a great question as to the things that are going on when you have the peaceful rallies. Can everyone? The things that are going on when you have. Okay, so we have different things going on. You've got Ninas that is set on a peaceful path, and you have the various blocks in Ninas, and the most visible one right now is Ilana Omodua, and of which, you know, Prof. Akintoye is leading the collective, you know, Yoruba self-determination movement, and Akintoye is the chairman for Ninas. And so they, every time that you see something happen, you would see how Ilana Omodua makes it very clear they are operating under the peaceful and intellectual plan that Ninas is offering. And so you saw in Ibadan, they sent a ton of policemen, but that rally went on very successfully because there were thousands and thousands and thousands of people there and international observers. You saw in Lagos, they arrived at ahead of time too. And they tried to disrupt things and to prevent people from coming, but that still went on. So how do we prevent this from happening? It's by making it clear under what banner that you're operating. If you're calling yourself a government within a government and you haven't resolved that, then there's going to be an issue. If you're saying that you're agitating and you're not following this plan that has been well laid out, that is taking back something that already belongs to you and is recognized in the UN Charter and other international law, the sovereignty and self-determination is a right. It's not secession, it's not breakup, it's not split up, it's not any of that. It's a right, inalienable, cannot separate it from the people. And so that's why we're trying to get everyone to understand this, because they think there's no power, it's just words. It's not. That's where the power is. And that's why you see, you know, the government not coming there and trying to shoot everybody, because they are operating under legitimate rights. And so that's how we need to continue to do that. Every time that anyone comes out to talk about self-determination under the Ninas plan, that gives them protection. If that answers your question, because that is very important. That's a great question because people need to understand this. They need to understand this. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have Yinka. Hello, Yinka. You are welcome. You can go ahead and ask your question, Yinka.
Yeah, hello, how are you?
How are you?
Can you turn on your camera, please? Let's see you.
You won't see me. I'm not where you can easily see me. So they just hear my voice. Some of that time you will see my face.
Go ahead, Yinka. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, my great people. Yeah, my observation is it's going to be very brief, and it's somebody. The last person that spoke actually hinted a bit about what I intend to discuss. But before then, let me congratulate you once again for your consistency and your staying power to keep at this struggle. It's commendable, really. So, but straight to my issues. I want us to appreciate the current situation in the country today. I think we are nearing the final phase of the jihadist plan. The final phase of the jihadist plan is very much at hand, and they are determined now probably to overrun this country. And that's why you are seeing the brazenness that is being displayed presently. So we need to take care of that. We need to be conscious that, look, Nigeria now is at a very dangerous precipice, and something has to be done. And secondly, the issue of the United Nations and international intervention, people like us are very skeptical about it because we are aware that international politics is about national interest. When even the United Nations itself, with due respect, is an extension of that national interest, because you see, over the years, what is good and bad with regard to any country is in relation to their interest. Look, when people go to the United States and say, look, oh, come and help us in Africa, I feel that these people don't really have the interest of Africa at heart, because if they do, a lot of things that are happening today won't be tolerated. Look, these same countries are the ones who are supporting and sponsoring the dictator in Egypt as we speak today. I mean, they are supporting the dictator, LCC. They think he's a good person, well, because he's dancing to their tune. Don't also forget that when this man in Chad died some few months ago, France called the man their reliable ally, someone who has dominated his country for 30 years and brutalized his people and terrorized them and butchered them and killed them. You know, they are regarding the man as a reliable ally. So that is the situation within which we live and operate. So we need to be cognizant of the fact that all of these people say one thing and they do the other. So now, and that leads me to the third issue of self-help. I think we need to come up with a plan, a master plan that would empower us to help ourselves, because if we continue to wait for United States, the ECOWAS, the European Union, this and that, United Nations, I think we're on a long thing, a very long thing. And that's why I want to say now, as a last point, that look, we are the majority in this country. We are over 90% in this country called Nigeria. And these people that are terrorizing us are less than 10% of the population. And if you dive deeper, you realize that they're even much less than 10%. And we continue to act as victims, which we are not. It's a mental position that we need to review, revisit, and reinvent. When we talk about restructuring, we want restructuring and all of that, we want the constitutional review. We keep talking as if we are begging that some people should do it for us and all of that. We need to come up with a plan, a grand plan, a master strategy.
Oh, Yinka, the things that you're talking about have already been done by NINAS. With regards to, thank you for pointing that out. But no, if you have paid attention,
I was just going to round up anyway.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes, I was just going to say that there is a need that for a master strategy that requires that, I mean, all Nigerians and quickly. And the issue of the force majeure regarding the constitution and all of that. But I'm talking about the real issues, what we can do to stop the killings in this country. Because, I mean, the force majeure has not stopped anything. Yes, you have declared it, yes. And what about it? But as I speak today, people are being killed. I mean, you saw what happened today at Ojota in Lagos. I was near the place. Wisdom was just, I was near the place. And you saw what happened to Igboho's house. You saw how they intimidated the South and have take pictures with the North. So, but I'm saying we need to do something now, not both for long term and short term, but we need to look at those issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I must tell you that those things are being done, and many of those things have been done. we come here in this program, we probably talk publicly about 20% of what NINAS is doing. If you have been watching this program all this while, you would know that the foundational basis of the nation that empowers these individuals to do all these things they are doing in several parts of Nigeria is what NINAS has addressed with the force majeure. It's not going to, there is a process to it, and it's time bound, and there's a strategy. It is the strategy that we are working. So it's not about noise. The people have already taken charge. Nobody is sitting here folding hands and saying, let the US come and do it for us, or let the United Nations come do it for us. This NINAS is the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. That is the people. It is the people that are driving this, this movement, this effort. And we are going to get there. We are getting there. If you look at, I would like somebody to talk about I would like somebody to address this. I'm not going to be the one talking about this, but if you looked back at Nigeria of 3 years ago, anytime you talked about the constitution or any of these matters, restructuring, for example, as some people might put it, and these questions are posed to a Fulani person on TV, the response is usually like, it's like you're talking to a peacock.
Yeah.
It's like, we will never allow this to happen. You're a conquered people. Who are you to even demand that? If you want it, you come to war and take it from us. You have, you know, that's the language as of 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. Does everybody remember that?
Yes.
Today, everybody is talking about, oh my goodness, let's go to the National Assembly and do something about the Constitution. Let's go, and then they find out that that road is closed. The National Assembly is not empowered to change constitutions, write constitutions or amend constitutions. It's for the people. And they're running around. Okay, let's do something about this constitution. Hey, Ndibo, you always wanted presidency, right? Do you want one right now? We can give you something right now. Yoruba, do you want presidency? Who wants this? All this desperation that is taking place is because of this fire that has been put under that this pressure that is local, and all the things that have taken place. We are having a national conversation today that was not even possible 3 years ago because of what NINAS has done. Okay, does anybody else want to talk to speak to that?
Okay, I'd like to say something.
Yes.
Like you're talking about the strategies that NINAS should come up with different. At this moment, what we're doing, if you look at the top, most of our conversation, we're actually activating the people power. Because like you rightly said, we are a majority. And when you have a lot of people, you have the critical mass that the 10% or the less than 10% will not be able to subdue. Because even the forces that they're using, it's the military. And when you look at the military, it's not just made up of them. Yes, they have been able to put themselves in positions of commanding positions and so forth. The foot soldiers, there are very few of them that are foot soldiers in the Nigerian military. And it's just that the way the military is designed, it's all about commands. So at some point in time, you're going to have the command, the orderly command continuing. But it will get to a point when we have been able to continue in what we're doing, orienting people and activating the power of the people, where the military itself, people from this other region that are being oppressed, will understand that they also have a part to play. Like Johnny had said, when we sit down here to have these conversations, we are basically just talking about less than 20% of what NINAS is actually doing. I'm reading the comments in the YouTube live program as we speak, and I see that most of the people, they also have these concerns that we have. And that is why I'm taking my time to talk about this. So NINAS has the strategies. It's not just about the talk and talk and talk. Like Jean had said, there's several things, or like Johnny also mentioned, there's several things that could not have been discussed before that we are discussing now. And if you look at the governments of the day is hitting on the agitators. But have you seen them say anything about NINAS? They wouldn't, because we are following the steps that they cannot stay on. And they know that it's just a matter of time. We are actually activating the people power. We are moving towards where we are going to have the critical masses, the critical mass. And we have a step after that it's also part of the strategy. So we are working on that. Your concerns are already being worked on. Thank you, Johnny. Back to you.
If I may add something here. Do I have 2
Go
minutes?
ahead. Go ahead, Seb.
Yes, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here. Let it be clear to everyone that everything is possible. Everything is possible. Okay? So that is why it is very important, if you attend this conference, please copy out the links that are on the chat. If you look at your Zoom, click on chat, and chat will pop up at the side or on top. Scroll up and copy out the links. Or remember, www.ninasffn.org. You must be a driver of this initiative.
Yes.
This initiative is not person bound. NINAS is a movement of the people, okay? So if the government tomorrow decides to kill all the people who are talking here today, you will be the one talking tomorrow. Your network will be the ones talking. You must know these things that we are discussing. You must know these things. We were asleep and people imposed things upon us. Let me give you one thing to take away, okay? There were 4 regions as at 1963 that made up the country, the federal country. There were 4 regions. You can say that these 4 regions, the population was more or less the same. Or we say the original 3 regions, the populations were more or less the same. But to be very frank, the population of the northern region was only 17% that time. But let's say that they were the same, 25%, okay? Now, the military came in, starting from Gowon, the former northern region, okay? Starting from Gowon, they truncated the regions and started creating states. Gowon left, Murtala Mohammed came, created additional states. He left. Then who came after him? Obasanjo came. He did not create any states. Obasanjo is from the south. He did not create any states. He stood his ground. He stood his ground. He did not create any states. I must give him some, credit for that.
He should have created one state out of every state in the South.
after Obasanjo, right? The present man came, truncated the democracy that came in. He truncated it. And well, after him, Babangida came, created his own states. Abacha came, created his own state. Abdul Salam came, created the final state. And today, now, this is the takeaway.
Yes.
All the people that created states, they came from the former northern region. And none of them was elected. They were military. And now look at this. When we talk about the National Assembly today, and somebody thinks, okay, we are going to change Nigeria in the National Assembly. Please listen to this. Listen to this carefully. There were, I say, 1 northern state, 1 northern region, and 3 southern regions. By population, they were like the same. Okay? And this creation of states, what did it do? Out of the one northern region, these military juntas created 20 states. Call it 19 plus 1, the federal capital. So 20 states, okay, out of one region. While out of the 3 southern regions, they created 17 states.
Yep.
Okay? Now remember, outside the federal capital, each state presents 3 senators to the National Assembly. Make your mathematics. Each state creates, each state sends 3 senators. So the 19 or 20 states or 19 states from the north, they bring in how many? Almost 50.
Over 50%.
Let's call it 60 senators to the National Assembly. While you, the whole 3 regions from the south could bring in only 51 senators.
Yeah.
So the majority is already skewed.
It's been changed
to the north. Skewed undemocratically to the north. I'm not talking about the same thing about local government, resource distribution. All these things were skewed by the brutal force of the gun by the military junta, and they embedded it into the 1999 Constitution and said that you and me have accepted and adopted this Constitution. Please, did you do that? We did not do that. So please know all these facts and make sure that you know it and that you spread it to your network, so nobody should be worried. You kill one, the other 10 come up. You kill 2, 200 come up. You are the forces that will restore the basis of the federation that our forefathers agreed on. When the nationalities say they want to federate, they will federate. If they don't want to federate, they will not federate. Thank you so much.
And that is such important information. It is so important. And, you know, Johnny, you know, as we talked about, there's some key things that we need to talk about in the next meeting, you know, that people need to understand now as we're doing the mobilization. But, you know, these pieces of information where we actually give the stats is really important for people to know.
Yes, but it's also very important, like we always do on this program, to understand that the middle belt is part of this alliance, that knot that we used to know is split, is not what it used to be.
Yes.
That historically, the middle belt is more us than they are with their partners over there in the far north.
That is why NENAS is there now. Yes.
Exactly.
That is why NENAS is there.
Absolutely.
Yes. And that natural, organic relationship, affinity is where we stand right now. They know where their brothers are. They know where their sisters are. So that not as we used to know it, but very good point that you made. So these are, you get to the people, they call the ethnic nationalities of this area, even those in the far north that are non-Fulani, they have been with us for thousands of years before the Fulani came around. And they in the far north are being oppressed. And many of them, they are part of this effort. They want to be part of it.
Yeah.
You see, so we are, so when, you know, it's just a clarification. I agree with everything you said. It's just a clarification we make. So when we talk about not, and that's
far north, right? Right.
Fractured, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And we're getting ready. Sorry, Johnny, we're getting ready to round up. But Iyabo had a comment to make. Iyabo, can you unmute yourself, because we're getting ready to round up here. I think that, you know, all the discussions that we've been talking about has really been answering that question. Has the Constitution tilted Nigeria towards being an Islamic state? And I think that a lot of you don't need me to answer that question for you based on everything that we've been talking about. You know, and again, it's not about religion. It's about what the non-Indigenous people are doing with that information that is at stake. Because Ninas is made up of all religions and non-religions. Okay.
Yeah.
So Iyabo, if you can unmute and ask your question, that'd be great.
What I really want to talk about is about the Constitution. That we need to remind ourselves that the Constitution is the contract by which we live together. Mm-hmm. And we had a Constitution that was negotiated. A Constitution must be negotiated, must not be forced on the people as we have now. We have a Constitution that's forced on us that we are not part of the negotiation. And that the military is an illegal government that cannot confer legitimacy on anything. So what the Constitution we have now is an illegal instrument that was forced on us. And we all need to sit down and renegotiate how we want to live as a people, because that's the whole basis of a country.
Absolutely.
To be a country or not to be. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, you cannot amend a forged check. You cannot amend a forged constitution. It has to be ended so that the rightful owners of this space, the rightful owners of this sovereignty, can decide exactly what needs to happen. And that's kind of where we are. So Johnny, bring us home.
Yes, let's wrap up now. Thank you everyone for joining. Very interesting discussions, very interesting topics today. I'll come back next week. Let's do it all over again.
We're going to be talking about the specifics of this Constitution, just like Seb had talked about, because it really is important. When we talk about that Nigeria is apartheid, and when we dive into that Constitution and actually show you what's in there and what it's been used to do. For instance, they say, we are now ready for restructuring, as Johnny said, but we're not giving up the presidency. How can they say that? That's part of what Seb talked about, right?
Exactly.
It's part of what Seb talked about.
So it's about taking charge of your space. Like our brother was saying, that these international countries, that they are about personal national interests. Every nation is about national interests. But in your own space, if you're not talking and the other guy is talking, that's who they'll hear. Absolutely. So if you're raising your hand and saying, I did not make this constitution, like many of you have seen the publications by Ninas recently, telling the IMF and other organizations, stop loaning money to Nigeria. It's a disputed territory. It went viral. The international community has been informed about that. If your voice is not being heard, if you're being quiet in your space and you're not shouting about your land that has been stolen, then whoever is coming is going to negotiate with the person that they see.
Yes.
So you speak up. This is, we activated people's power. That is where we are right now. We must take back our space, our sovereignty. Thank you for joining. At this point, I'm going to ask everyone to unmute and we can talk. Njenje, you can stop the video at this point. Thanks, everyone.
One hand was up. I wonder what Charlie wanted to say. Charlie, your hand is up. What did you have to say? Hello, Charlie.
No, I don't think does Charlie have a raised hand?
Yeah,
yes.
Okay, Charlie, you want to say something?
I will be Nigerian president. I will be Nigerian president. Allahu Akbar.
I don't know. Okay.
Oh, but it must be an avatar.
He will be Nigerian president. Okay.
It must be an avatar. I think it's an avatar. I don't think it's.
I think it's an avatar. Yeah. I wasn't even sure why you were asking the person to say something. I don't know who the person was. So it's no. I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot, Donald. But that's okay. Thank you, everyone. Charlie wants to be Nigerian president. Please remember to vote for Charlie when the time comes.
Yeah, you know, thank you everyone for joining. Everyone can unmute and, you know, say hello or ask questions. You know, we're going to be around to continue